Welcome back. A new study suggests children who drink whole milk may be less likely to have weight issues. The Canadian guidelines suggest kids be given lower fat cow's milk instead of whole milk starting at the age of 2 in order to reduce the risk of obesity. But researchers at Toronto's St. Michael's Hospital are calling that practice into question. They looked at 28 studies involving nearly 21,000 children, and they found kids who drank whole milk were actually 40% less likely to be overweight or obese compared to those who drank milk with reduced fat. So we've been talking about this a lot in the newsroom. I'm now joined by Dr. Johnathan Maguire, lead author of the review and a pediatrician at St. Michael's Hospital. Great to have you here on the program.
Terrific to be with you, Angie.
So, of course, a lot of parents here and wondering, are we doing the right thing? Are we not doing the wrong thing? Talk to us about the findings and what really stuck out here, because I'll be honest, I have a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old, and even our older one. They drank, full milk, whole milk for quite a while. They still do.
Well, I think it's a very interesting question. The Canadian recommendation, and that's based on recommendations around the world, is that children transition from whole fat to reduced fat milk at 2 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
And we wondered about the science behind that recommendation. So we did what's called a systematic review, where we tried to assess all of the literature available to figure out what the relationship was. And we identified 28 observational studies.
Mm-hmm.
There were no clinical trials that we found. And of the 28, the majority of them showed that, in fact, children who are consuming whole milk tended to be leaner than children who are consuming reduced fat milk, which is sort of opposite to the current guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, we didn't find any studies that supported what the current recommendations are.
Could it be perhaps, and I know some people have said, whole milk has more natural sugar or less sugar than, say, skim milk or 1% or 2% milk. Could that play a factor in it?
Well, I think it's really interesting to speculate on the reasons why.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is that, this is observational research, and observational research can be tricky to interpret because it doesn't take into account all of the factors that happen in life, which can change the story.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that we didn't find any studies supporting the current recommendation really sort of makes us wonder about whether we're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Some people speculate that maybe whole milk causes people to eat less unhealthy foods because it fills you up more than low-fat milk.
Mm-hmm.
Other people have speculated that maybe it's a phenomenon of reverse causality, where bigger children's parents choose lower fat milk and vice versa. So it's not real clear what's going on, but I think this finding is fairly provocative and really, I think, a wake-up call for us to start thinking about this and looking at it more thoroughly.
So what is what's going to happen sort of next now? You've got this information here. Are there plans now to sort of now make comparisons to the different types of milk, in terms of the fat levels and maybe comparing that to perhaps the lifestyles of these children?
Yeah, what we really need are the type of gold standard studies, the clinical trials. We desperately need a clinical trial that evaluates what happens when children are randomly assigned to whole versus low-fat milk, so we can actually see which one is better at protecting children from overweight and obesity.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, as I said, we had a very detailed conversation about it in the newsroom. Anything that you would suggest really quickly, Dr. Johnathan, in terms of anything that we should be relooking at, adjusting in terms of our children's diets?
Well, I think it's really important that children receive foods from a wide variety of sources. Cow milk is just one of those sources, and variety is very important for healthy growing children.
All right, well, we'll leave it there, but hopefully we'll chat again when you further that research. Dr. Johnathan Maguire, lead author of the review and pediatrician at St. Michael's Hospital. Great having you. Thanks a lot for your time today.
Thank you.